Hello, everybody, and welcome to another special edition of Press Play, where the press comes to play. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a mask right now. That's because I, Jonathan Elker, the video producer of Launcher, the video game coverage team of the Washington Post, is actually at the Washington Post right now. And there's a mandate to actually wear masks. So please let me know in the chat if you can't hear me and I sound a little muffled. We'll figure something out. I'll raise my audio or something. So today we've got a very awesome game that we're playing on stream. It is the recently released Guerilla Games game, Horizon Forbidden West. And with me today to play this game, we've got two people. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Alyse, you can go first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alyse Stanley. I'm the copy editor for the Launcher team. And then I also wrote our review about Horizon Forbidden West because Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my favorite games.
And hey, I am Teddy. I am on the audience team in the newsroom at the Post, and I also am a contributing writer to Launcher. I also got a review copy of this game. I played the original, and I am not as far as Alyse into this one, but it sure looks pretty.
I sadly did not get a review copy of this game, so I'm going to be the person that asks a lot of dumb questions for these two. But I'm really excited to get into it. Do you guys want to give like a brief summary of the Horizon IP itself, kind of what the series is about, and then also get into this game? Alyse, do you want to take it? Because you did our review.
Oh, yeah, sure thing. So the Horizon series was Guerrilla Games' first kind of like venture away from, they made the Killzone series before, so they were used to like first-person shooters. And the Horizon series was made by them, and it was also made with the writer from Fallout New Vegas, who, if any of y'all are Fallout New Vegas fans, like that game is like known for its just amazing quests. So they started making a game about just a redheaded huntress in the future. And then that became the Horizon series, and Horizon Zero Dawn came out in 2017. And then this is the direct sequel, and it starts like, I want to say like 6 months after the first one. It's just bam, bam.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really like how they cut into the sequel also. Like they're very conscious of where this is in time, and they do catch you up, and you don't feel like it feels like it's very related to the first one, whereas with other sequels, it just feels kind of like they're slapping it on. Here's more content. Now get into the story. I don't know. That's been nice.
Yeah, they definitely left some like big plot questions with the last one. That this was one of the few times where I finished a game and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see like where they take this, because it was such a big question mark. Just to kind of give an overview of the like broad strokes of the plot, it's set 1,000 years in the future. Mankind is very like primitive societies, using bow and arrows, using slingshots, and then robots that look like animals go around, and they used to be friendly, but now they attack you. And
Yeah.
you can like shoot off their individual parts, and it's a very like interactive form of combat combined with like
With a premise like that, how can you not be intrigued?
Seriously, like giant robot giraffe sold me.
Mm-hmm.
Fighting giant robot giraffe definitely sold me.
Okay, no, you don't fight the giraffes.
Oh, okay.
They're the one peaceful one, and you can't fight them.
Well, then they got to sell me again. I don't know. No, I'm so excited to see gameplay for this game. Obviously, this is the biggest one to come out this week. So why don't we just like hop right into it, Alyse, and then we can see what everything's about.
That sounds good. So as Teddy was saying, I have put just an obscene amount of time into this game. I want to say the last time I saved, I was at like 55 hours. So yeah, this is just, I went back to one of the earlier areas, so there's not going to be any spoilers. And yeah, I think right now we're over in the right portion of the map where you start out. And I guess I will just run around. Teddy, do you want to talk about, since you just recently started the game, you want to talk about your first impressions of it?
Yeah, I mean, I was just laughing before because I do think that since I knew you were reviewing it and had to go through this monstrous game,
Had to go through is a strong way to phrase. I would have gone through it anyway.
that's true. Yeah, it's a good point. That I'm taking much more of like I'll play 2 hours after work and put it away, and I'll do a little bit of side quest. I'm not rushing to get through the main quest. I'm playing that tabletop game.
Oh, Strike. How do you like Strike?
I've just had a craving for one of those games. I don't know. I was gonna replay The Witcher again to just
Mm.
play some Gwent again. So I think Horizons hit me at the right time because I was asking questions like, should I download an open world Assassin's Creed game, or just the normal
You just get like the
cravings.
itch. Yeah, you get the itch for it. I get that with like grinding and RPGs. I'm like, I just want to not think for 4 hours but feel productive.
Yeah. I just want to climb towers. Like I just want to. So, first impressions are really positive. I mean, I feel like all the reviews that I read about Horizon, kind of like Ghost of Tsushima, just taking the format and doing it well so far. I mean, I think I'm like a fourth of the way through the main story, and um, yeah, liking it so far.
It definitely feels like the kind of game where like if you like open world exploration and the like getting lost and doing side quests and you like the first one, this is more of the first one, but like building on top of it. So it's like, yeah, you'll probably like this game too if you like the first one.
That's super good to hear, particularly because I remember when the first game came out, it came out at the same time that Breath of the Wild did. And so gamers had like this dichotomy of, well, what do I do? Do I do Zelda or do this game? And
I have very strong opinions about that comparison.
Okay, so
As someone who likes both of those games, I have very strong opinions.
okay, so I might need to leave depending on what I say here right now and your reaction, but I definitely chose Zelda, and I was like, I'll get back to this other game eventually. And Zelda was another game, or Breath of the Wild, I should clarify, was this game where you could basically go anywhere. You could explore anywhere, you can climb up basically anything and just kind of explore the world around you. And Breath of the Wild blew me away, and apparently the first game is like that as well.
So full disclosure, I didn't play either Breath of the Wild or Horizon Zero Dawn when it first came out. Horizon Zero Dawn I played actually during quarantine. It's both of my sisters, all of us like love open world games. Both of them were like, Alyse, you need to play this. This is our favorite game. You're gonna love this. But it's just so long that I didn't have time. But I played over quarantine and absolutely loved it. But having played both, I feel like there's only really two similarities between Breath of the Wild and this. Oh, three. Post-apocalyptic, which can be said for a lot of games now. You can climb tall things to see further, and you can go anywhere. Other than that, like narratively, combat,
Absolutely
everything
not.
else is different. And
Yes.
so it's very weird having come into this game knowing that. I was like, this game isn't like Breath of the Wild at all. What were people talking? You climb tall things and we're in the future, but it's retro.
I totally agree with that. I think that the Horizon series, from what I glean, is a lot more narratively driven, whereas like Breath of the
Absolutely.
Wild, like I guess there's a story beyond just like kill Ganon, but you have to search for it a
There's
little.
I will say, actually, now I think about it, this game is probably more like Breath of the Wild than the first one, just because this is very like dungeon heavy. Like a lot of when you progress the plot, it's like you go to like a underwater dungeon, or you go to like a where old people used to live, but now old people being the people before before Alo's time, um, like where they held up when the world ended. Like it's just very more compartmentalized, which I feel like Zelda games normally are, because it's like you beat one dungeon, you beat this dungeon. So yeah, if anything, I would say this game is more like Breath of the Wild.
Interesting.
So, Alyse, one question I have for you is, now that I'm like 10 hours into this game, one thing I'm struggling with is balancing the main quest versus the oyster of the world, just like everything happening. And I was wondering I mean, I know you're trying to rush through to understand the main story to write your review, but what was your balance between taking a break between main quests to check out what was happening around where Aloy was? Because I am having trouble with that. Yeah.
It honestly, it pained me a lot to not just go off on, see like I'm notorious for if I see a question mark, I'm like, I gotta find out what that is. And just anything else I'm doing, I'm like, nope, you can wait. I know your sister's probably dying. I know your daughter's missing. I don't care. I need to find out what this thing is. And so it was very, very difficult to not do that. I explored a lot of the first area just to kind of, sample like, oh, let's see what the racing mini game is like. Let's see what the strike mini game is like, just to kind of play all the different elements. But then, especially as I got to like maybe the last fourth of the game, it was like 3 days before embargo, and so then I did have to. At one point, I was just writing I was writing one of the mounts, and so Guerrilla Games, with the first one, they said that in order to like figure out how to space things in the world, they actually like spaced out things in miniature at first to see like when players would get bored. And so there's like a thing you encounter either like a what are they called, the like sites for different robots, or you come across like NPCs like every 50 feet. And so I was, and some of them are randomized, some of them aren't. And I was riding my mount, and then it was like running, and it would be like, oh, hey, can you, and I wouldn't even hear them finish because I was like, nope, I got to do the main quest and I can't stop.
Yeah. Well, what was tough early on in the game is that there are some, trying not to spoil anything, there are things you obtain to the main quest that makes exploring the open world a lot easier. And so I get very frustrated when I start going off to places and like, no, you can't. You haven't learned how to do that yet.
Yeah, because that was a very frustrating part about this game.
Yeah, and they don't communicate that much. I don't mean to criticize because there's a lot that I like here, but that tension between, am I missing out on stuff, or do I need to learn more in the main quest to then be able to go out and blow up some flowers, which out of context makes no sense, but that's not a spoiler. Yeah, that was tough.
No, I agree, because like I feel like the commercials, like the trailers for this game, especially emphasize like you can explore underwater, and you can't explore underwater after you get like halfway through the main plot. No spoilers with the main plot, but yeah, so it's like they lock a lot of the parts that players would naturally be drawn to first behind like progressing in the main plot, which is frustrating since that's not like spelled out super explicitly.
Yeah, and I get it. Like other open world games struggle with run into a creature I haven't fought before. I am incredibly trepidatious about it. I don't know. The first time I saw the pterodactyls that shoot off fire when they go off the ground, it still has that same slight level of fear that you had in the first game. I don't know if that was the case for you.
Absolutely.
I've got two things that I just want to bring up really quickly. Apologize for slight technical difficulties, but we are back. I think it was only a couple of seconds delay. And the other thing that I do want to point out, just so that people aren't confused, Alyse is a god gamer, but she's not a god gamer to the extent where she can play with one hand up in the air and still do these complicated things. What you're seeing right now, there's a slight delay because of the gameplay feed that's coming in towards us. So there's about like a 5-ish second delay. So if you see Alyse like raising both her hands and yet like she's still going forward, like I don't know that she has psychic powers, but I'm guessing not. So
for some reason I didn't make the connection where this was going, John, and I was like, is he about to roast me? What the heck?
No, not at all.
I'm doing my best.
I mean, unless you have psychic powers, then no, I'm not. So
gotcha. You're making use of Guerilla's adaptive controls, the aiming, right. the what is the accelerometer? No.
Yeah, PS5, man.
It's hooked up right to my brain.
Next gen.
Yeah.
I'm really committed to my craft.
Sorry. So you were saying that the new robots.
So one thing I really like about the Horizon series is that like you hunting is a core mechanic of the game, but they actually like really make it feel like a hunt. Like if you know you're going to go tackle like a really powerful enemy, then like you'll make a lot of ammos or you get a lot of like materials, and in this game you can cook, so it's like you'll cook stuff so that when you go in you're in the best, you'll set traps and stuff to make sure you're in the best shape to like take it down. And I feel like this game amped that up with the new monsters, and so it's like going into a fight where like you don't know the monster, then there is that kind of like hesitation and like tension, like, oh, do I need to prepare for this? Like, do I need to make a bunch of bombs or set up a bunch of traps? And then for me personally, I am terrified of like water in video games, and there's a lot of water in Horizon Forbidden West, and there are a lot of very big enemies in the water in Horizon Forbidden West, and they're so scary.
Yeah, and the water looks really great. That sounds weird, but I usually hate any water moments in any game. It feels, but and I still I agree with you. It feels a little awkward. But dang, it looks good to look underwater in this game.
To that point, yeah, pretty much. There's so many different locales in this game that just look so exquisite and so beautiful. We actually, Alyse and I did a video earlier today that shows off some of the locales, which are real life locations. Hawken, who's our tech guy, if you don't mind just throwing that link in the chat in case anyone wants to take a look, just to see what we're talking about, how beautiful this game is. But anyways, sorry, Alyse, continue.
Oh no, yeah, I agree. It's really gorgeous. The underwater, I assume just because of like physics and how video games work, like is sometimes clunky, but it's gorgeous to look at, like you said, Teddy.
Yeah, the whole typical, playing the whole. Wait, I'm gonna describe this correctly. But you know how whenever you're swimming as a character in a video game, it feels like you're a submarine. It's like press circle to dive deeper, press square to go up. It still has that same mechanic that feels awkward and frustrating, but does look really good. So
I think I managed to get myself stuck because I was like, oh no, I'm not going to find the way to get into this building that they wanted me to. I'm just going to try to jump in.
Well,
there you go.
You just got unstuck. But while we're here, can you explain what exactly is going on right now? What are people looking at?
Sure thing. So I have just been running around and trying to show like the different animal sites and like the different like ways you can kind of like target different parts of the enemies and then take out like specific perks or like trigger chain reactions if you shoot, like if they can fire off fire and you shoot their combustible component, then you can take them out that way, or you can just whack them like normal. And so I was trying to show off that, and then I just saw a question. See, even on the stream, I saw a question mark, and I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And then I started heading towards that. It just, I have a problem. I'm an addict.
Is there a specific part of the not main quest that you are enjoying the most, like clearing camps? Or I am not a huge fan of the old buildings. They feel tedious to me.
Yeah, they are. Was that one I haven't done? Okay, cool. So speaking of the camps, there's one I haven't done yet, so I will go to that, and then our watchers can see that. But I really enjoy the camps. I really enjoy, what are the different? Oh, the cauldrons. Cauldrons are where they make the thing that makes these machines, makes those machines. And so going in there, you normally like unlock a new really powerful enemy to fight, and you'll unlock blueprints to be able to like take over new enemies, and it's like puzzly, but like you were saying, Teddy, the relics and the ruins are puzzly, but like it sometimes isn't the most intuitive, whereas the cauldrons, I feel like it's a lot more intuitive, the environmental puzzle solving.
Yeah, how do you like the climbing in Horizon? I heard that some people were not big fans. I actually like it. I like that each rock hold isn't painted with yellow, no offense to Naughty Dog, and that instead it's just kind of highlights if you want it, but otherwise you can just kind of take a guess. Anyways, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I really like it. I think it's like a natural way. I'm trying to see if there's anything nearby that I could like show it with. Um, but to me, it's just a lot more natural than like here's a bunch of like yellow pipes or yellow stickers that just happen to be on this mountain. Um,
Yeah.
I think, and here I just ran up to a part. I think it fits in with like Horizon's lore. Like it makes sense. She has the focus. Yeah, it would do that. So I really enjoy it. And then if you don't want to see it anymore, it just fades away after a second after you use your focus.
Yeah, agreed. I think climbing is great in this game so far. I don't know if it gets boring after a while. Um,
Climbing is like one of those mechanics in games that you never think is going to be as joyful as it is. I felt the same exact way with, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, just kind of just like scaling everything. Again, the Breath of the Wild games. I don't know how this game compares to those two IPs, but I imagine that it has the same sort of exhilaration.
If you like the climbing in Breath of the Wild, John, then you would probably like Horizon because it's like that, but without a stamina bar.
That sounds lovely.
Exactly.
yeah, and it's not everywhere, but it's also not only in the places that Guerrilla wants you to go. I
Oh, not happy to see me?
Give up your blade or pay the price.
got lost, but my point is just that, Alyse, I don't know if you agree with me, but it's not like, oh, this is the yellow brick road, this is where you have to climb. There's a couple of different ways when you're getting up to a high point, and that feels fair.
Yeah, and one thing I also like about the hitting your focus and it just kind of highlights with like little yellow lines and X's. When you can't climb a mountain for whatever reason, game design reason, we can't let you climb up this. It shows little red X's, and so it kind of like pulls double duty where it's like showing you what you can climb and then being very explicit about like, no, you cannot climb this particular rock face. Don't ask why. You just can't.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you think about the? Oh, sorry, John.
Oh no, you go first.
What do you think about the combat with humans? I haven't gotten into it a lot because I like fighting dinos more.
I like it with like I was trying to show with like running around this settlement. One thing I really like about the Horizon series is that they kind of tuck in a lot of things whenever you go into a battle. Like there's 20 different things that you can do, and they kind of use the environment to like allow players to choose what they want to do. So like in this particular camp, like I could have come up high with like my grappling hook. Normally they also have like zip lines, underwater ways where you can like swim underneath like the gate and come in and ambush them. And then around the actual base, they'll have like heavy weapons that you can steal from them and then turn them on them. So I've really been enjoying the human bases. I think like with the fighting machines, Guerilla Games gives you a lot of different options, and it's really fun to just try them all out.
Do you want to explain the ult move, for lack of a better term?
Oh yeah. Let me see if I have one equipped. Dun, dun, dun.
I haven't even really used this much, but I actually think this is a way to make the gameplay and the fighting interesting after 10 hours.
Mm-hmm. Let me go to. I might have to run to a place with enemies because I think that's the only guy over here. Let me.
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize that was going to be a chore. John, you were about to say something earlier, and then I cut you off.
I basically just wanted to say that it looks like, far be it from me to be the judge of this, but it looks like you understand the combat system really well. You understand the mechanics of this really well. This speaks to how Alyse reviewed this game for us and also wrote a story about 8 tips that is good for like any beginner that's trying to get into this game. Hawken, giving another shout out to my man Hawken, if you don't mind just like tossing that into the chat so you guys can take a look. But I definitely want your opinion on some of advice that you would give for people just starting out in this game, or any sort of combat thing that pops up that you want to speak about.
Sure thing. So the Valor Surges that Teddy was talking about, you might have seen it like really briefly. I think I got one hit in. The one I have right now makes my ranged attacks stronger for a bit. And there's a bunch of different ones. There's like ones that'll give you a shield if you fill up your Valor bar. There's ones that'll make you invisible. And you fill up your Valor bar, which is that purple bar in the right corner, by doing what the game calls skillful moves. And so that includes like shooting off different parts or triggering chain reactions with enemies and even just defeating enemies. And then once you've filled up the bar enough, then you can kind of trigger this ultimate move where you can make your physical attacks stronger, you can make your ranged attacks stronger, and change it depending on like the situation, but then also whatever your preferred style of combat is.
You really poked the bear here too.
I did.
I don't think that's a bear.
No, that's a good point. It's a half man, half bear. No, so that's a bad stuff.
Half man bear.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And just real quick, I'm not sure if I can show it to you. Oh, that's right, because he put it. So some of the enemies have like moves where they can make your focus not work. What I was going to try to do was show how you can scan an enemy, and then it'll show the different parts. And so like this, if I hit it with plasma, it triggers a chain reaction and it'll blow up. If I hit this, I can, or sorry, you guys have a delay, I forgot. If I hit like the tail, it can detach, but then also if I hit his giant gun on the top of him, it'll fall off and I can use it.
Ah.
This guy's a new guy, right? I don't recognize him.
No, this is a Thunderjaw. This is like
okay.
the biggest baddie of the first game. No longer the biggest baddie because they're gigantic boys.
Oh, and you're forced to play him at the beginning of this?
Oh no! I started at my file.
Got it. Okay.
It's just it's semi near the beginning ish. Like you wouldn't have to. You probably wouldn't find this organically because it's not near any like main quests. So you probably wouldn't have to fight him at the beginning. But if you wandered off the path and were like, "Ooh, what's that?" Then yeah, you'd probably run into him.
I'll be honest. I'm at the point right now where I would avoid a Thunderjaw, just because I feel weak and feeble.
Yo, I get it. I would also avoid one, just like in real life. So. By the way, quick shout out to Evan Campbell. Thanks, man. Thanks for watching us. Thanks for enjoying our content.
Oh, hey, that's a nice note. I'm gonna write back in chat and
Yeah,
say
go
that
for
I'm
it.
doing that as well. This doesn't sound like I know what I'm doing at all. So Alyse, you have 50 hours in Horizon. How long would you say it took you to beat the main story?
I would say it took me about 30 hours to beat the main story. And then there's actually a thing in the menu that'll show you how much you've completed. And it says I've completed about 54% of the game.
Jeez.
It was at like 40-something% when I beat the final mission.
It feels like that completion rate's pretty brutal, i.e. there's a lot of like ticky-tacky things to get done to get it to 100, because that was not the first time I've heard that from people who reviewed it for journalism.
So this is what I was trying to show. I hit this off of him, and now I can fire back at him.
Got it. Without, I guess we can't say too much, but what do you think of the story? I say awkwardly without saying too much else.
The story, and again, no spoilers. I would say it's like the first game was sci-fi, but it was very like grounded in reality sci-fi, where it's like, oh, AI is just really, really powerful, and so that's why we can do all these amazing things. This game like kind of goes off the rail a bit, but in a very sci-fi way, and not in like a, oh, this is just really bad writing kind of way. But it is more kooky than the first game. But I think it's a good way.
I think I just got to the kookiness last night, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, but that's good to know. I I I was gonna also make an indiscreet comment that says the main story doesn't hold back at the beginning. You just go. It
Yep.
it so if there's any advice I have for people who are starting this now, it's just that the first main story missions are not, just chum. It like they have plot and it moves and things happen. And I had a couple of moments where I was pretty happily surprised by that. I feel like early story can usually just be moving from point A to point B, etc.
I think I know probably the scenes that surprised me as well. There was one early on that I full on just like gasped because I was like, wait, what? Because it was just such a big, not what you're expecting kind of thing, and not what anyone was expecting in the game. It definitely seemed like.
Yeah, and this isn't even. I think what I like about it too is it's not even like, oh, that was a fun boss fight, which the beginning of the game also has. This felt different. This felt like, without knowing the full story arc, I don't want to give it too many compliments, but it just felt like you're on your toes a bit, and I like that. Good. It definitely makes me a little bit more. Oh, sorry, you go, John.
Oh no, you go first.
Well, no, it definitely makes me a bit more conscious about when I start traveling to these main story quests. I think I'm going to do them when I'm at my best. I'm not just on the 5th hour of gameplay, because they're kind of cinematic, and I don't know.
They're very cinematic. Especially the ones with the main plot. Like, I just literally just walking around with my mouth open, just like, what the heck? It's so pretty.
Yeah. John, I interrupted you again.
Yo, don't worry about it. This is the age of, digital chats and Zoom and whatnot, right? So, comes with the territory.
Yeah.
We've got, so I've got two thoughts. One, let's start with this one question that we just got from chat. From Risotto, amazing name, dude. I love that. Or, however you identify. I shouldn't just say dude. But anyways, Risotto asks, how big of a difference is the PS4 versus Pro or 5 in terms of performance? And what I'll say right off the top is the review copy that we got for the game was for the PS5. Is that right, Alyse?
Mm-hmm. That is
correct. So we can't necessarily speak to the comparative aspects of all three of them, but we can talk about the performance of PS5. And Alyse, do you want to mention how exactly the performance was, any glitches you ran into, anything like that?
Yeah, so this was actually my first game on the PS5, and it's really, really gorgeous. It does a lot of stuff with the haptic feedback in the controller, so that like everywhere you go feels different. So if you're like walking in knee-high grass, then that feels different from like swimming, or if you're running versus walking, or stabbing your spear into something really strong versus stabbing your spear into nothing. And it's been really fun, though. I have noticed some clipping issues, especially later on in the game, where like some parts of a building will load, but other parts won't. And I think that just speaks to how many assets are in this game. There's just like a ton, because there's assets for every mechanical enemy that you can hit off, and like so many things in the world you can interact with. So I think it just speaks to that.
Yeah, my thought, I've had a PS5 since pretty close to launch. I stole one of Gene Park's, and I think this is the second PS5 game to me that felt like, oh wow, this is built for the PS5. And the first one for me was Ratchet and Clank, which I think we said in our review as much, that Ratchet and Clank was the first game we had played on the PS5 that felt like it was making the most of it, and this game as well. I have not had the same loading issues, but I've played most of my experience after one of the biggest patches, so I think I might have avoided some of it. But yeah, sure is pretty. That's for certain.
Yeah, of the games that I've played on the PS5, the two that stand out to me is Miles Morales, which was early on in the life cycle. Ratchet and Clank again, which some of the things that it can do just on the fly without any load time is insane. And this game, from what I'm seeing right now, has very similar feeling in that regard, which is pretty awesome.
The load times, as someone who, you know, this being my first PS5 game, I've just been like so impressed with the load times.
Yeah, did you see there's a setting? This is compliments of the Axios Gaming newsletter, but did you see there's a setting in where you can slow down the load screen so that you can actually read the hints?
I did not. That's great. I mean, yeah, it loads so fast that sometimes you can't.
I didn't even know there were hints, to be honest. I had no clue. I honestly can't even tell you if I've recognized the load screen, which, again, I'm not trying to, I don't think this game's perfect, so I don't mean to just be a hype machine, but that is impressive.
Yeah, I was telling John earlier that, like, I remember back with, like, my Xbox 360, and it just being, like, playing the Elder Scrolls especially, and it just taking, like, 5 minutes every time I wanted to fast travel somewhere. And now I can just like hit a button and I'm there. Like I'll go to like take a drink or something, and it'll load while I'm still taking my drink.
I saw that Risotto posted in chat that they are debating between getting Horizon on PC or PS4, and I think the longer that you get away from the older consoles, it might be good just to get PC. It's just a little bit more secure. I'm not sure how much these old console versions are going to get supported. That's at least my 2 cents.
So I haven't run into too many I haven't run into any game breaking glitches, but I have run into stuff where like there was one quest where I was supposed to interact with a computer monitor, and it kind of, I went to interact with it, and then it went from green to red, but nothing happened. And so then in that case, I had to restart it. I had an issue where I was doing a racing game, and I just went through the ground at one point. Those were the 2 biggest ones I've run into. For the most part, yeah, it's just been like clipping and stuff taking a bit to load. So it's like, oh, there's the rest of that building.
How much do they get into character development for Aloy? And my impression from the beginning of this game is that there could be a really rewarding arc about how much pressure Aloy puts on herself and whether she can actually do this all by herself. Are you satisfied with where that goes, or is it, I don't know, does it get kind of muddled in such a big game?
It gets, I would say character development doesn't get muddled. Kind of Aloy's place in like the larger plot and just the larger plot in general gets a little crazy, especially towards the end. But in terms of character development, it's really cool to see Aloy has like a lot of interactions with her companions in this game. Like you pick up companions as you go through the game. That they all chill and wait at your base. Like it reminded me of Ocean's 11 kind of, because you would just go back and like everyone would be chilling and talking to each other and joking around, and I'm like, I feel like I'm part of a crew and we're saving the world. But you see a lot of character development for her through that, and like running into problems that she can't just punch away, like emotional ones.
Yeah, which is kind of a cliche. I do.
I eat it up.
Yeah, and I also do like that some of her friends, at least early on, are immediately. I try to choose my words carefully because this is a PG audience, but are immediately just calling her out and saying, "You're being a jerk," or "You didn't need to say that." You just don't. That's not something you often see in a game like this. So that was interesting. Oh, I hate these. I'm sorry, I hate these kangaroos.
They're like kangaroo frogs. I don't know. I get frog vibes from them.
Yeah, they have a lot going on with their little whiplash ball and chain that they toss around.
Okay.
They happen to. I think they're the weirdest one I've encountered so far. The weirdest creature in the game.
I would agree with that. They're not really dinosaur, not really animal.
Yeah, sorry, I also interrupted you though about
What was I going to say?
Aloy being.
Oh, a lot of the character development is really, really well written and feels natural. There are like a couple of times where it feels ham-fisted. Like there was one point where it was like, "Hey, you remember that traumatic thing that happened to you in the first game? You should process that."
Yeah, that makes sense. No, it doesn't. Do you think, separate from writing a review for Launcher, that you would have 100% of this, or at least played it as much as you were playing it for work?
If I wasn't reviewing it,
Yeah.
I think I probably would have played it as much. I was really looking forward to this game, and then so when I got the chance to review, I just jumped on it.
We've got
I'm trying to think of
another
other
interesting.
questions. Okay, thank you. I want to
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
questions, but they're gonna spoil things. So I was like, I'm censoring them through my eyes.
Yeah, that's always the tricky part with this, right? We don't want to spoil too many things for you guys. You should experience it on your own, and also embargo stuff. But to fill the void in the meantime, we've got another interesting question in chat. This time from Evan Campbell, who asks, do you have any takes on mainlining and the open worldness / anxiety that comes with a map full of question marks? We sort of talked about this a little bit earlier, but we can dive into it a little bit more right now. Alyse, do you have any particular thoughts? I definitely do. So.
It can definitely be overwhelming. And this map is really ridiculously huge. I actually tackled one village today that like I just totally missed somehow. Just a whole like with merchants and everything, and I was just like, this world is so big.
Yeah, I mean, to build off that, I'm only 10-ish hours in, and I play a lot of open world games, but I always struggle with that tension between, should you be playing the main quest, to understand more of the world, or can you start going crazy? And the world in Horizon, in this sequel, like physically opens up. So I feel like once you get to that point, mentally I was thinking, oh, I can go places. And I started doing that, and then you hit some artificial walls, just things that you don't have already, or things you don't understand that main quests kind of walk you through a bit more. Like there's a place I need to put a battery in, and the first time I saw that, I just thought, I don't even know what's going on here. I still don't really get what's going on here. And then you just do a mainline quest and like, oh, that's a battery slot. You just got to find one. It's like, okay, well that makes perfect sense now. So there's that. I just want somebody to, like a referee to come down and say, now you can just go and do anything.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that they introduce one of these new tools you get to going around, the grappling hook. They introduce that like immediately, but then they kind of piecemeal out the other ones that you expect to be able to access at the beginning, like the pullcaster, and that could be frustrating because like Aloy will hint to the fact that like, oh, I can't progress here anymore. Like I don't think I have the tools to explore this. But even then you're like, oh, well, what do I need to do? Like, it's not very clear what you're supposed to do in this instances. Like, it doesn't say, I got to complete more of the main plot.
Yeah. They don't spell that out. Or the one thing I did like is, I was wondering how they were going to take away all of your tools and skills between games. And I don't think this is too much of a spoiler to say that the answer is just a simple, oh, I lost them.
Just what I
I was traveling really far and I lost everything. And I like that so much that it's just simple. Okay, sure, great. That makes sense. That happens to everybody.
And I will say I just saw one such glitch I was talking about where this bird guy, what are you called? Sky Drifter, was perched on. It looked like it was supposed to be perched on a rock or on the ground, but it was just like about a foot above the ground, just chilling.
Those guys were a little creepy the first time I ran into them. There's another question in chat. Not to take John's job.
Oh no, you're totally fine. I just wanted to comment really quick. I'm really fascinated by how games with continuing narratives handle that problem that you mentioned, Teddy, where it's like, oh, we gotta drop the power levels of our characters because they're like way overpowered after the first game. Like with Mass Effect, they literally, this isn't a spoiler alert, kill the main character at the beginning of the second game and revive them, and so that's their excuse for this. Meanwhile, this game is just like, nope, I lost it. Let's keep going forward, like press on. That kind of just like, to me, speaks a little bit to how this game is good at welcoming newcomers, because there's that, and then there's also kind of a previously on section at the beginning of this game, right, that catches you up on the storyline of the other game in case you don't want to hop into that.
Yeah, and it's good. I played Horizon I played the original at release, so I really didn't remember much, and it was a really good summary, in my opinion.
Yeah, I appreciated the summary because they do dump a lot of lore on you in the first game because they have to be able to set up this game and also just to explain the world. But I really appreciated the kind of last time on Aloy's adventures.
And the one, this is a small detail, but I do like stuff like this. I feel like at the beginning of the first game, Aloy was a much more of, she was a hunter and she didn't have fancy armor. It was just very simple, utilitarian. And the game was a lot of like, you're walking to that next town and you just need to survive, and then you'll build up a base in that town and you'll be able to explore around it. That's a poor explanation, but I liked that at the beginning of the sequel, she has cool armor because she has done stuff. It's not, she's not a Nora hunter. I, for some reason, was worried about that. I actually didn't really want to switch from her base armor too, because I was like, this stuff is sick. I don't like any of the other options.
Yeah, you definitely, a lot of and the designs of the other armor are kind of like tailored to tribes that aren't Nora, and so yeah, it's like you kind of don't look like, you don't really have a lot of options, especially from the onset, where it's like, oh yeah, I'll look like the Nora warrior I was. It's like she kind of grew up with the sequel.
Yeah, agreed. There's that question in chat. What did it say? Oh, what are some great improvements over the first game?
I would say my favorite part was the climbing. I think that they really simplified it a lot and made it a lot more intuitive. Other than that, I really like the new monsters. My favorite part of the first game was the machines, and so it's really cool to be able to battle them like underwater and them being like flying through the air. So I would say the combat and the climbing are my favorite parts of what they improved on.
Yeah, maybe it's because I haven't played enough, but I don't have. It is really similar to the first game, but that's not a bad thing. To me, it feels like a very polished version of the first game. And I said this earlier in the stream, but I was worried that this version was going to be more around the humans, and you weren't going to be as scared by the dinosaurs because you kind of get it, you know how to deal with them, or the animals, I should say. I cast them all as dinosaurs. And I don't know. When I'm going into a new territory, I still have that sense of, I don't know how to fight these guys. I take it slow, and it has the same emotions as the first one did, and that is my favorite part, but it's not really an improvement. It's just that they didn't mess that up. But yeah. Oh, I will say one other thing. I think the NPC actors look insane. They look like real people. Oh, some of them, honestly, I feel like I could see that person on the street. It's crazy. And I would love to know how they did facial structure design and whether they just like, some of the voice actors, it just sounds like that's the person. They just put them in the game. That was really really impressive to me. I feel like NPCs have gotten to a certain point where they look decent, but when they talk and move their eye, it just ruins that effect. And I did not have that with this game. This was the first one where I thought that NPCs and side missions anywhere, they feel more realistic.
I would agree with that. I would also say that there feels like a pretty steep drop off in quality between like the mainline quests and then some of the honestly between the mainline quests, some of the side quests, and some of the other side quests and like smaller things like errands or like we're gonna collect every single one of these things. Um, the you meet people from different tribes that you know are part of the main quest and they'll speak in a way like a normal person would, and then you talk to some of the NPCs, and if it's a tribe that does blacksmithing, then they make all these blacksmithing jokes and references, and if it's a tribe that's involved that does botany, they make all these botany jokes, and I'm like, do you guys only talk in botany metaphors? That's just it seems like a lot of the very minor NPCs kind of share like one thing about them. They share one brain cell.
Yeah,
Well, at least
yeah.
Well, at least to the extent of how we can talk about main characters. Teddy, you mentioned voice acting, and I kind of want to get into that right now. Ashley Birch, main character of this game, is kind of becoming a tour de force in the video game industry. She's popping up all over the place now. She's going to show up in Tiny Tina, that game that's coming up in a little bit. What do you guys think about her performance and the other main characters?
Do you want to take this, Teddy?
I just feel like you have a fuller answer since you saw the whole arc. Um,
Oh, gotcha.
but then I can jump on.
The voice acting of the main characters I think is just amazing. There's one character who shows up that by the end of it I was angry that she wasn't in the game more because her voice actor was just so good.
Yeah, yeah, she's awesome. I'm bummed that she's not in it more because I thought she would be.
But yeah,
Um,
the voice acting is very, very good. Prompting a lot of like when you're watching like a really emotional movie and you're like, or like, oh no, that it feels like watching a movie essentially.
yeah, I mean, I think Ashley Birch is amazing. One of the best in voice acting right now, and holds true for this game. And interestingly enough, I think some of the lines written for Aloy are just like, I don't know, a bit empty, but I get it. She has a lot to say, and but I really like, without giving too much away, I like that she's not a perfect hero. That's my favorite. That might be my favorite part of the game, is that she's kind of a jerk, and that people recognize that. It's not that she's a jerk and it's just nothing happens. That there's ripple effects to that, and it doesn't feel like too much of a cliche yet to me. Maybe Alyse would know better than I would.
Yeah, she feels really realistic and like down to earth, in a way where it's like she's a hero, but she's not perfect.
Yeah, and it's tough to say that line without it sounding like a cliche. But, oh man, so I'm struggling to say something that would be better. Are there other? Oh, here's a question that I feel like, Alyse, you can answer better than I could.
Mm-hmm.
Does the prettiness of the game ever wear off? Do you
No.
just stop caring about it? Yeah.
I think it fades into the background, because you have to play the game. But even then, like when I'm not focusing on an enemy or like something I'm supposed to be doing, I'll just be like, dang, this game's pretty.
That sounds like Red Dead and Ghosts, where when you have a slow moment.
And the different environments will like look different depending on the weather that day. And so like earlier today I was walking through a jungle environment and there was like mist because it was early morning and I'd never seen it like that, even though I'd been in that jungle before. And so it's just, you see it in multiple variations as you go, and it's just as beautiful every time.
I saw one video on Twitter today that I didn't retweet, so I can't get the link, but it had a screen video of all the little details happening in a shot, and it was like a gurgling stream and a gust of wind with grass, and there are just a lot of elements happening at once that I completely glaze over. But yeah, but then it's pretty to stare at when you stop for a second. How does
Alyse, do you think?
does the
Oh, you go
Oh,
first.
sorry, John.
No, you're good, man.
does it feel thin at all at points in the map? You've done so much more of the map than I have. Does it? Because that's the biggest open world problem.
Yeah, and this is like a lot of open world games. This has that problem as well, where it's like it's a huge map and it's a gorgeous map, but it doesn't need to be nearly as big as it is. And so that was it. It does feel spread thin, especially in the side missions. Like there's this one side mission where it's like you have to line up an image on your focus with like the skyline. And after I did it once, I was just like, I see no use in this. So yeah, there are smaller quests that really don't seem like they need to be here.
I do. The one bone I have to pick, which is annoying, but it is me, is that when you go to the old relics, the old parts of society, and there's like a wooden structure that's still holding up at this Airbnb, or not Airbnb, this bed and breakfast hotel. It's like all these things have happened. It's 1,000 years later.
1,000 years.
And we still have wood. I don't know why that
And you
gets me, but
you can take down machines with your spear, but you can't break down the wall.
yeah.
That's where it's like video game logic.
Yeah, they just feel like there's that what is the mechanic called where you grapple things back, you pull everything.
That's your polecaster is the device.
Okay. I was just gonna say that has been, it feels a little overused right now, but I'm I don't know, I'm being very picky.
I like how they iterate on it throughout the game, because like they take a mechanic they introduced very early on where it's like moving a box and using your polecaster to like manipulate the environment, and they build on that in a satisfying way, I thought, in the rest of the game.
Oh, that's great. I think I just don't have a complete vision. Don, what were you going to chime in with?
Gosh, I don't even remember at this point. I'm getting so distracted by all of these machines that Alyse is fighting right now.
To answer Jaden's question, I think that you should play Horizon Forbidden West on a flip phone Series X Pro Max Premium, and I support that.
Jaden is a character that has popped up a couple of times in our other stream, which is WAPO Story Mode. I'll do a plug for that right now. It's our Thursday show where we talk about the biggest news of the week for gaming, and it happens at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard, just like this show. So,
I'm sure Jaden thought that his comment would then turn into a plug for the more content from Launcher. I'm glad.
Oh yeah. This person has our back.
Service.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, I was just gonna ask another question, and I feel like, oh well, I'm just gonna ask it. Alyse, what do you think of the shield, the parachute shield?
Oh, the glider.
Yes. Okay. So you can't use it. Okay, I wasn't sure if you can use it as a shield as well. It's only a glider.
Just a glider. Other people can use it as a shield. You can't. Just cut it.
Okay, got it. I wasn't okay.
But yeah, it's fun. It definitely in the first game, there's this mechanic where you go down a zip line and it just does a really cinematic shot. It feels like you can just do that whenever you want now, just by like jumping off a mountain.
Dang.
So it looks like we have a couple of more minutes left. Alyse, is there anything else in particular that you think would be kind of cool for everybody to see while we've got them on stream? Or
Good question. Oh, yes. This is how the flying mount works.
yeah, there we go.
Oh wow, you can just call
Mm-hmm.
a true batwing This is what
man.
we wanted from the Rock. This is what we wanted from the Rocksteady games.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That was the.
And then you also have
It's gonna leave a
a
mark.
normal mount, and they just seem to appear out of nowhere. You do get to race these guys in this game, and I found those very, very fun because you can hit people with. I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can hit with your shield from it just in the wild, but in the race you can just hit people with your spear to get ahead.
Can you actually? Is it a viable strategy to like take this into battle, or is that like really dumb and you shouldn't do that?
I did ride a different version of this that has like a very explosive component, and I rode that into the middle of a camp and then blew up the explosive component. I haven't tried to fight with them so much, but I have done stuff like that where like just use them as a bomb.
I got in a little bit of a tussle with my steed, and you can fix them up after they get injured, which I thought was cool. I don't like when my horse dies in games.
Me
I don't like when.
neither.
Okay, yeah. I don't like when Roach died. I just don't. The Roach is from The Witcher. So I usually leave him at a safe distance, like double lock the bike and then go over.
Yeah, what is it with
Yeah.
horses dying in video games? Like the one in Last of Us 2 does too. It's like, what are you doing, developers? This is not a trend.
Oh, hey, repairing. Okay, there you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't. It just it feels like you've dropped the egg. Like, you know how in kindergarten they give you eggs or whatever, or you do an egg toss or any type of don't break the egg, and that's your one job, and then you kill the horse, and it feels like you messed up.
Yep.
The companion cube.
Yeah.
Yeah. That. Oh, sorry. You can go.
No, I mean, as we're wrapping up, I was just my last point, and Alyse might disagree with this, so please tell me if you do, because it's a bit of a hot take, I guess. It's just I think if you didn't like the first one, this is more of the first one, and I have a hard time imagining that you should buy this game at sticker price at launch. But if you like the first one, this is a ton of fun, and
Yeah.
It's just there's so many open world games nowadays that if this isn't exactly your cup of tea, I have a hard time, just like wait a week and Elden Ring comes out, or wait another week and some other open world comes out. So I don't mean to bash it because I'm having a lot of fun, but I also really like the first one.
Yeah, I would definitely agree where it's like if the first one wasn't your jam, this may not be your jam, or you may want to hold off. If you really, really love the first one, then you're probably going to have fun because it's a lot more of that, but just iterated on.
Yeah. Chat just reminded me that the horse in Ghost of Tsushima died, and that is a bit of a spoiler, but that wrecked me. That is really rough.
Yeah, you know how like games sort of copy each other in designs, like open world kind of exploded all at the same time with every AAA gamer. Now it's killing horses, and I don't know why that is.
John, you should do a video of that actually. It's really funny. And I do actually think the Ghost of Tsushima horse death is, in my opinion, the worst one. That's such a that's a real. Oh, sorry to Sean for spoiling that, but it is a gut punch.
Sean, yeah, he already played that game.
Yeah, Sean is Alyse's husband, so.
Oh, hey Sean.
Yeah. Which, by the way, he makes a really awesome shout out. Shout out to Sean, by the way, who has showed up for a lot of streams in the past. But he makes a really funny comment of Alyse fighting the sea monster, which I think he's referring to the sea monster that you had to fight for a video that we produced. Is that right?
Yeah, if you go watch our video on YouTube of real life places that are featured in this game, because it takes place across like the Midwest and the West Coast, there is a very specific monument or a specific building in San Francisco that is also in this game, but half of it is underwater, and I am so very scared of things in water. And the toughest water enemy was directly like right there, like that's just where he spawned. So I tried to do it once and got scared, and then did it again, when I was like knew he was like further away, but then as I swam around the building, he saw me and I screamed in real life because I was just really, really scared.
The funniest part about it is that you messaged me being like, I couldn't get the shot. And I was like, do I order my colleague potentially to her video game death to try to get this shot? And she got it.
Literally, I flew to the building and then I was like taking a video. I flew to the building, dropped into the water, and as soon as I saw it, I called my mount back again and just flew away because I was like, nope, we ain't getting that right now.
Could I ask, is combat underwater good? Because there's so many ways in my brain that sounds painful and not fun.
So you can't actually fight underwater. You can only dodge. So it's more like sneaky stuff. It's a stupid name, but I love it. Stealth kelp. So it's kelp that's like the grass you can hide in. Yeah, so it's like sneaky underwater portions, and you can't actually fight anything.
Got it. Okay. That sounds great. Fighting underwater sounds.
And hiding in stealth kelp.
All right. Well, as we are about to wrap this up, why don't we give final thoughts on the game, Teddy and Alyse. Teddy, do you want to go first?
My final thoughts are, yeah, again, if you like the first one, this is a no-brainer. If you like the first one and you have a huge backlog, no real rush, in my opinion. But man, is it a delight. And I imagine I will be playing it to completion just because I want to. And who knew that NPCs could look so good? That's it.
Yeah, I'm of a very similar mind. I really enjoyed it, but I also, the first one is one of my favorite games. So I kind of came into it knowing that if it was more of the same, I would probably enjoy it. But it is a huge game and doesn't need to be as big as it is. So if it's not something that you have to just tackle like right now. I think you can hold off if until you have more time to play it, because it is very long.
If you have opinions about really long games, especially open world games, specifically open world games, you should DM me. I'm not joking. I would be interested to hear your thoughts.
Alrighty, well, that's going to do it. If you're interested in kind of diving a little deeper into our thoughts about this game, Alyse wrote a review. It's in the description down below. Hawken will also post it in chat for you guys. But thank you, everybody, for watching us today. Hope you really enjoyed this. If you like this content, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell to get notifications whenever we go live or whenever we have videos that produce on our channel. Every Thursday and Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard, we do live streams. So join us back here again. So yeah, that's going to do it for us. Take care, everybody. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yes.
Oh, right. I have to hit buy. Okay. 1 second. Okay, now buy for real.